Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday. I made it. I'm here. I pulled an audible on the weekend plans, and I did the Friday night show in New Britain. I skipped the Enfield show on Saturday, and I went to New Jersey today to the Garfield show. And I say I made it and I'm here because I talked about this already, how much I hate the drive home from New Jersey on a Sunday. And I tell everyone, remind me why I don't do New Jersey shows. And it was no different today. Right? It takes hour and 20 minutes to get there and 3 hours to get home. And I even left at noon today thinking I'm leaving really early. I'll be home by 1:30. Yeah, no. It's just crazy how long, just how insane the traffic is coming from New York to Connecticut. And I do have to say, the up in the Massachusetts area, those shows I've done, smooth sailing every time coming home. So I'm going to start setting my sights if I want to travel on going north of here instead of south of here. But the Friday night show, I set up at the New Britain show. And the problem with these shows, and I absolutely love local shows. I love these local shows. Why? Because I can get there and back 10, 15, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, usually, little and no traffic. But the problem is it's just turning into dealers buying and selling to dealers, right? Or people who are selling online are coming in just to buy whatever they can at a discounted price so they could immediately go home and list it for sale on eBay. Or I understand that's their business, but it's it's tough to sell something. The margins now have gotten so small, right? And we're basing comps off of eBay, and everybody immediately wants to say, well, we've got to go down to 90% or whatever the repackers are paying now, right? Because now all of a sudden that's a thing. Before that it was 80 and 85%. Then the repackers were like 90%, right? And I sell stuff on eBay, but of course you're selling something, they're taking a percentage, you're paying to ship this. There's a lot of fees that are coming out that other end. So really, what is legitimate? Like, what should the comps be? What should the percentages be? I guess it's just up to whoever's buying and selling the card, what you want to pay, what you want to base your comps on, right? And what I feel now are people are getting very creative when it's coming to buying at these shows. So for me, between the Friday night show and the show I did today, just shaking my head at some of the stuff that I've been hearing from the other side of the table. And I think even a little trickery involved too. People just trying to do whatever they can to get a better deal on something. I had another dealer, Friday night come and ask, how they do. They come up, oh, can you take a bunch of these cards out of my case? And then proceeded to offer me 80% on the cards for a lot. And tried to explain to me, tried to convince me that he was doing me a favor by paying me, that he was paying me strong at 80%. And this is what he always pays at a show type of thing. I told him I wasn't interested. He came and said, I guess I could move up a little bit, maybe go up to 85%. But not once did he ever base the comps or the cards with the actual comps. He came up with a number that he thought was fair for the cards, what he thought the cards were worth. And then he started out deducting 20%. and then 15%, which still wasn't the last comps on eBay. There were below that, but it's what he felt the cards were worth, right? I was scratching my head. Where are you coming up with these numbers? I mean, I just don't understand. I'm looking right here. The last sale on this card was $650, and you're telling me it's 575, and now you want to take 15% off of that. I can't even be anywhere close to that. And he actually said to me at one point, "Hey, it's okay. We all lose money on cards in the hobby. We all have to take the L sometimes. It's okay to lose money on cards." Is that your way of trying to make me feel good about losing money so you can make money on my cards? I mean, it happens to everyone, he says. I said, "Look, let's just put the cards all back. I mean, I'm all set. We're way too far apart." And he's like, "Well, wait. Leave these 3 cards out. Let's see if we can." And we went back and forth, and finally he made me an offer at 90%, which what I said from the very beginning, which was probably 35 minutes earlier where I needed to be on the cards. I said, "Yeah." I said, "Finally a good deal." We shook hands. I took the cards out. The price on the 3 cards, 1,500. But then he puts 1,300 out on the case. I said, "What happened to the other 200?" He said, "Oh, no, I said 13." I said, "No, I heard 15." Now we've got to go through 15 more minutes of this back and forth. And at the end, I agreed to throw in a 4th card that was pretty stale to me to get the deal done at the 15. And after he finally walked away, I sat down, I shook my head, I looked at the dealer next to me. I said, that was really exhausting, and we could have cut out 35 minutes, and all that could have taken 5 minutes to do. But all that other going around and around and around. And the dealer next to me, who was listening and watching to the whole thing going on, said he absolutely said $1,500. And when I saw him put the 1,300, I'm like, uh-oh, like what's going on here? So I think this is what happens at these slow shows, that there's time to go stand there. Now, a dealer at another table, he had enough time to come stand at my table for over 30 minutes, going round and round and round, trying to wear me down, trying to every angle, every which way to try to get these cars at a lower price. And I don't know if I appeared like I was an easy mark, because I know I've seen him. I've seen him out. I know, but maybe he hasn't seen me. Maybe he doesn't know that I do this and I'm doing this every single weekend, or maybe he just does this with everybody. Maybe this is just his thing. And after that, I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, I need to cut out. I need to cut out all this, especially with these slower shows now, this 30, 35 minute, this around and round stuff, and just say, look, I need to come up with more of a take it or leave it price for me. Just identify when I'm negotiating on each card, which I've done in the past, but then, I've steered a little bit off that. Like, if I've got a card and I know somebody's really interested, like, if I come down $10 on it or something, if it gets the deal done, I'm okay to do it, especially if I'm motivated to move the card. Um, but it's like once you give in now for that, like, oh, I can come down $10. It's like, well, if you can come down 10, you can come down 70, or you can come down 60, or you can come down 100. It's like, whoa, slow down. Slow down. Like, I don't need to be a part of this. And I don't think we're helping people in the hobby to entertain these long, drawn out negotiations. Um, I mean, maybe if we're trading cards back and forth and we're coming up with values of the cards, like, I want your card, you want my card. Let's figure this out. We can add more cards on. But I think a one-sided cash deal, somebody's coming up saying, pull these 4 cards out, I just want to buy them, and the only thing I'm getting out of it is the money on my end. I don't think there needs to be all that negotiation. I don't think we need to be going round and round and round. And I think if the shows were busier, there would have been none of that round and round and round. Um, Nowadays, and I've talked about this, you give people your lowest price, and then they want to go $10, $5, $10 less, 15. Like, even if it's a good deal, even if you're saying, look, that's 85%, and I'm usually at 90%, I'll go to 85 to get the deal done. Oh, no, I need to be at 80 now. Well, I was at the Garfield show today. I had a young kid, I would probably say about 14, was interested in one of my cards. It was a Jalen Hurts. It's a 3-patch rookie card, PSA 10, numbered to 25. It's a pop 3. There's no other comparable sales on the card. The only other comp we found on it was a raw sale from the beginning of September for $159. I had the card priced at $325, which was, I think, was a very fair price on that card. Immediately, the kid starts asking, "What's the best you can do? What's the lowest you can take?" I said, "Look, you see my price on the card. Make me an offer. We negotiate respectfully, back and forth, pretty good at the beginning." And then he says, "Look, I'll offer you 250 on the card." I said, "I could take that." So I put my hand out to shake his hand, and immediately he said, "Well, will you take 235?" And I'm like, "You just offered me 250 on the card." He said, "I didn't shake your hand." I said, I'm not holding you to the deal, but you just offered me 250 on the card. And immediately when I accepted it, immediately you're coming back and now you're trying to go cheaper." And he said, "Again, I didn't shake your hand." I said, "I'm not holding you to the deal. I'm telling you, you made me an offer and I accepted, but now now all of a sudden you want to go lower." And then he didn't say anything. He starts going through his phone, and he starts looking up cards that are similar to this one, similar players, not even the same type of card. Um, and keep in mind, he's looking up raw prices. This is a 10. It's PSA 10. Then he starts trying to show me comps on similar cards. And I said, "Are you trying to convince yourself, or are you trying to convince me to go lower?" He said, "No, I need you to go lower. There's no way I can make money on that card if I buy it for 250. I mean, what am I going to tell people? They don't have anything to look it up." I said, "You're the one buying the card. You're the one that made me the offer for the card." And immediately he pulls out a whole bunch of cash and he starts counting it. Once, he counts it twice, he counts it 3 times. Then he looks at me and says, "I'll give you 235 cash right now for the card." I think he's buying the card, but he's still negotiating. So finally I said, "No, it's actually 275 cash now." He said, "Well, you said 250." I said, "You said 250. I agreed, but you don't want to pay that." I said, "You can go down a price, I can go up in price, right?" And now I feel like, I'm not making a good example, right? I'm not. It, I know at this point I'm to a point where I'm frustrated, and I'm not setting a good example. Uh, so I took a breath, right, and I said, "You decide." I said, "You made an offer at 250." I said, "That still stands. If you don't want it, then that's fine. You can move on." He stood at my table for about 20 more minutes trying to persuade me to go lower. I entertained it for a while, and then I said, "Look, I'm all done. I'm all done. I can't do this anymore." Uh, he went to the table next to me. He found a card in their case, and he started all over again. Same thing with them, making offers on cards that he wasn't going to pay for the card. Um, I just think a lot of this negotiation is just almost setting bad examples for these kids. Right? I don't I think wherever he's learned his tactics, this young man here, learn his negotiation skills. I don't think there was ever a price that I could have given him that he would have bought the card unless I went to like $150 or something like that. Because I think no matter what I agreed on, he was going to ask for something less. Right? I don't think this is what we should be teaching the kids in the hobby, as far as negotiating. And please tell me if you think I'm wrong. Um, I'm just starting to see more and more and more of this, and it's becoming more and more exhausting. And not from me, I'm seeing it at other tables too. And I'm not just seeing it from kids, I'm seeing it from adults. I'm seeing it from people who show up at a table and they don't want to leave. They just want to wear people down and wear people down and wear people down until they can get a deal. Right. And sometimes I think people are just like, if I make a deal, they'll leave type of thing. Right. Um, I tried to tell this kid, look, if you're not prepared to pay for a card, don't make an offer on the card. I said, if you're fishing on prices and you want to pay a certain amount, offer that price, but don't offer and say, look, I didn't shake your hand, so I'm not going to buy the card. You know, if you make an offer on a card, be prepared to pay for it. And he got annoyed at me at the end. He was annoyed at me when I was telling him, look, if you're making an offer, you need to be prepared to pay for it. And he says, I told you I've got money. I've got money too, right? I mean, we all have money. But if you're going to make an offer on a card, be prepared to pay for it. I don't think he got it. And as a former educator, it's in my DNA to want to educate, want to teach, want to set examples, right? And unfortunately, in this space, I'm not the voice the kids want to listen to. It's just that old guy, he don't know nothing. It's just uh, uh, and I know it, at least I know the point where I start to get frustrated, right? For me just to kind of just step back and just be like, do and say what you're going to say, but I'm going to remove myself from the situation or the conversation because I don't want to set a bad example. I don't want to get heated. I don't want to say something that's disrespectful. So I know enough, to bite my tongue and step back. But I think learning negotiation skills is an excellent life lesson. It really is. I really do. I mean, you really need that in life. But there's definitely positive and negative negotiations. Um, and I think we need to set some examples and teach some positive negotiations out there. Um, I think it's getting harder and harder now, in the hobby. And I know everybody, I mean, part of the problem is everyone's here to make money. Everybody's in this hobby to make money. There's very few people that just go out and collect. And a guy came to my table Friday night, two of them, and the one guy said to the other one, he's like, he is a collector. He never sells a card. He just shows up at every show. He buys cards and he goes home and he just keeps collecting and collecting. He never sells a card. Well, yes, that's a collector, but most people aren't. 90 high 90s, right? People are just they're coming to flip a card. They're coming to make money, figure out how to make money. And I'm not knocking it because I'm doing the same thing. As a dealer, I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm not knocking it. But I think there's too many of us doing the same thing. And that's what's making it harder and harder. And that's why people are really trying to you know, really get creative in what they're doing just to try to continue to make that little bit of profit in the hobby, especially at these small local shows, right? Um, because I think we're in this period right now where foot traffic is very light. There's too many shows, and I think mostly for the attendees, the people we want to come to the show, these kids, the kids are involved. The family, I mean, it's the family. The kids are involved in sports. People have a lot of stuff going on now. School's back in session, right? And now we're heading into the holidays too. So there's so many things going on that is creating weaker attendances at shows, weaker sales at shows. Um, and most people I'm talking to now, they said they're selling this. Most of the people are selling their stuff on eBay and saying they're getting, better percentages on eBay than they would at a show. My guy Jordan, Zips Cards, was just on a couple episodes ago. He sent me a list of his auctions he does with a consigner on eBay, and most of his cards were selling at or above comps on there. And he's doing this from the comfort of his own home. So I hear a lot of people say it. He's the first one who sent me a list and said, "Hey, these are my cards in this auction, and this is how well they're doing." And I was impressed. I was impressed to see how well he was doing with those. And let's face it, you're setting up at a show, right? And another dealer wants to come and buy your cards for a discount so they can put them in their case to make a profit. It's I'm usually not that interested. If there's a card in here that you really want, let's work on it. But if this is just you're just buying the cards to walk over there to put them in your case and mark them up, it's not something I want to do because I could sell the card just as well as you can. The only time I'm interested in doing that, and I talk about this all the time, stale cards. If I've got cards that have been sitting in my case too long and I'm motivated on the card, yeah, okay, we can make a deal on this card. And a lot of times when I do that, I see that sitting in somebody else's case. So can you tell it was tough shows this weekend? These back-to-back weekend shows setting up. It was two tough shows. You put a lot of work into a lot of thought into getting ready, and you get there and you set up, and both shows they were slow. My goal between now and the rest of the year is, what I've been talking about, sell off the football. We'll see what I can do with the football. I've committed to 3 local shows over the next 3, actually 2 local shows and 1 pretty decent show. So next weekend I'm doing the Chicopee Mash show. It's called the 413 card show. I'm doing that next Sunday. So it's a bigger show. So I'm looking forward to see what kind of traffic, what that's going to look like. Cause I did that show, I think it was back in the spring for the first time. And it was a pretty busy show. So again, a lot of these shows have been pretty busy. And I always talk about know the show, get ready for the show. The shows that have been busy that I get to seem to be slow. Right. So it's almost like fantasy football, right? So a guy sitting on the waiver wire or he's sitting on your bench and he goes off this week and he scores all these points. Right? Next week you want to put him in or you want to go out and get him off the waiver wire, and then he doesn't even get a pass thrown to him, or he doesn't get a carry or no touchdowns or something, right? So it seems like it's been that way with me with the shows. Like, the shows where I say, "Oh, I've heard good things about this show," or somebody I know set up at the show and said, "Oh, is it like the Garfield show?" And Bill was at this show last time too, and I gave him a few of my cards that he sold while he was there, and he said, "Yeah, foot traffic was good. It was a great show. I show up. It's a different day." Right? It's a different day. So you never know what to expect on these shows. You never know what's going to happen. So I'm hoping, like I said, over the next, I have 2 local shows and the Chicopee show next weekend. And I think November is going to be a good time for me just to switch it up, walk some shows. Not saying I won't set up if I see an opportunity or something arises. But between now and the end of the year, I don't set any big expectations on shows. I know what the show landscape looks like and what it's going to be looking like now to the end of the year. So, and it's interesting because we see this every year, and it's usually, like Thanksgiving, and a few weeks after Thanksgiving, it's like all of a sudden, like some of these shows are like huge. Like you go to these shows and there's so much traffic. I mean, I've got my notes and the shows that I know have been super busy, no matter how it looks in September, October. But the Thanksgiving and after Thanksgiving, there's a few weeks stretch there where the shows are busy, and for whatever reason, that's when you think people would be spending less, and they seem to be spending a little more, and then it dies down again, into the new year. So no big expectations, but And we all know that I'm waiting on this WNBA stuff too, so I'll be excited when that comes out too, and definitely be concentrating a little bit on that. Shout out to Bill and Billy Sports Cards for giving me a showcase space at their table today at the Garfield show. I really appreciate that. And there was definitely a number of empty tables there today too. So, but it was a beautiful, sunny, 75-degree day. I saw my guy Jonathan, Homer Sports Cards. He was there today. He was there when doors opened, in early, out early. He also had commitments, and I talked about that earlier. I think everybody's got commitments now. A lot of stuff going on this time of year. The only pickup I had this week came from eBay. Believe it or not, I was just talking about eBay, but it was a Bowman U Chrome, Paige Beckers refractor PSA 10. I'm still on the Paige wagon, the Paige and the Juju wagon. So I think that's going to pay. These cards are going to pay dividends for me. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, will pay dividends for me December, January, when the women are in full season with basketball and they're getting ready to go to the NCAA tournament in March. So I had 0 pickups at shows. Yeah, a lot of people had football out, a lot of basketball starting to come out now. I don't do basketball. I've really convinced myself to stay away from football right now. So yeah, just I'm stuck. And I'll tell you what, it's hard to find these Paige beds starting to get hard to find these cards anywhere now. Even trying to buy them on eBay, the prices are very high on them now. And I know like the Caitlin Clark and everybody from the draft, this past year's draft, those cards are going to start to come out. So it's going to be interesting to see what the hobby market looks like when those cards come out. And it's also going to be interesting to see what the market looks like on, the Paige Beckers, the Juju Watkins, cards like that. What that market's going to look like as well, going into this year, if it's going to have as much hype as it had last year with Caitlin. Hope so, but we'll see what happens. I'll be back Wednesday/Thursday, right, with a brand new episode. That's all I got for you today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.